The Backyard Brawl lives on for 4 more years, baby, thanks to Ren Baker.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host, and this is Locked On West Virginia, baby. Well, we're talking about the Mountaineers again today. The day before the Backyard Brawl, we are just over 24 hours out from that kickoff. We're about, it's 5:30 p.m., so we are about 22 hours, technically 22 hours and 7 minutes away from kickoff. So definitely excited about that. Or 57 minutes, either way, or 53 minutes, whichever one it is. I can't do math on the fly like this. So it's almost here. I cannot wait for that game tomorrow, man. So let's go ahead and jump straight into this, though. Obviously the Backyard Brawl has been extended. It's good and it's bad. We'll talk about that. Is the game tomorrow a top 5 game ever for both programs? I'll explain why you might want to give that some extra thought, and then we'll give the final thoughts at the end, as always. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys, and for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. Going to be brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. This episode is going to be brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward Mazda, where you can be Mazda, move and be moved. All right, guys. So if you didn't know, Brett McMurphy, West Virginia, I saw a bunch of different people putting this out. The Backyard Brawl has been extended. Let's get back into the details of it, though, because obviously there are some things about it that, I can't say that I'm happy about. What we really wanted was for this to be uninterrupted, right? And that hasn't happened. But, we had Pat Narduzzi calling us afraid to play them going forward, blah, blah, blah. And so, unfortunately, the 3-year hiatus, I guess it's 3 year hiatus till 2029. So technically 4, I guess. Is that true? Is it 4? Gosh, it is 4. So it's a 4-year stall. It's a year longer than I realized it was. So what this thing has done, though, is obviously the game starts back in 2029. And they've extended it 4 more years. It was from 29 to 32. We've extended it 4 more years until 2036. As long as football is still what we hope it is by then, that's what it'll be. So it's good for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the interruption at this point is still happening. I would have to expect. I would be surprised if that gets fixed. It seems like both sides are kind of dug in on what they're going to do with the interruption in the game, and that sucks. I really do hate that, but here we are, right? I do have 8 takeaways from the West Virginia extending the Backyard Brawl through 2036. I think it proves Pat Narduzzi wrong and shuts down the trash talk that we were afraid to schedule him, like he was trying to say the other day. He recently stirred the pot on a question during Backyard Brawl press conference week, saying maybe they don't want to play us, kind of implying that we were dodging the rivalry after filling our 2026 spot somewhere else. He kind of got it. I think they, tried to make some assumptions about us. According to Hoppy Kirkable and Ren Baker, both, we reached out to them first to try to fill 2026. And it sounds like to me like Narduzzi's in some damage control or something there, because that's just not what happened. It's going to be an economic boost for the region. We need this game every single year. It's unfortunate it goes away for a couple years, but it's still good for the region, no matter when it's played. And I'm glad to see that. it preserves an iconic hold within regional rivalries in the very fragmented college football landscape right now, and hopefully it's not one of the only rivalries left by the 2036. I mean, it very well could be, at least of the old rivalries. So that's just the truth, man. If you look at it, look at the way college football looks now. Obviously, you've got Rutgers playing Oregon. I mean, that's a great example. It's just not the same. So if it shifts to super conferences, I don't know. Maybe we still play them, maybe we don't. It always enhances fan engagement and builds lasting memories, man. I think fans live for the Brawls atmosphere. If you've ever been able to go to one, it's something you won't forget. Extending it to 2036 means more generations of people will continue to learn about this rivalry, and it won't totally be forgotten like it was during the 10-year hiatus where we were having to tell these players like about the rivalry, educate them about it, the whole nine. Um, so that's a thing we had to do back then. I remember when it first came back around, we were having to, our own players and the players we were playing against were like, so this is important, huh? It's good for recruiting, obviously, for each team. If you look at the appeal for in-state and regional talent, whether it's Rich Rod or a future coach, the ongoing brawl is one of those great recruiting pitches that you can give, because not only is it just, you're fighting your regional rivalry for talent in Pennsylvania and sometimes West Virginia and beyond. You're also at the game itself. Whoever has the home game, it's a great recruiting showcase because it's a game that's going to do well for no matter who's in it. From a fan base standpoint, show out on the game day or whatever. So I think that's something big. It provides some stability in an unpredictable Big 12 slate because, it's a fluid non-conference slate. Leaves a lot of potential for more realignments in the future. So locking in 4 more brawl games, alternating home and away, gives us a more reliable marquee opponent, and it balances the schedule with a winnable yet pretty intense rivalry game, right? So I think, obviously West Virginia's been better in the last 50 meetings. Hopefully it stays that competitive and avoids risking like a powerhouse like Penn State there for a couple of years. So, yeah, I think that's something that's probably looked over as well. And if Pitt comes into the Big 12 conference, it makes sure we play them because, just like we've got a couple Big 12 games this week that are technically non-conference games, it guarantees we play them either way, whether they schedule us or not, which they would, I'm sure. But I don't know after the way they're trying to do Farmageddon stuff. It's national exposure, obviously, for West Virginia and Pitt too, really. But the Brawl's storied history, which dates back to 1895, adds national intrigue. It draws TV audiences and a lot of media buzz that we probably otherwise would not get in the crowded Big 12 and ACC. So extending it keeps us in the spotlight through 2036. I think that's a big deal as well. And last but not least, it honors the West Virginia's athletic leadership and partnership spirit. I think you got to give credit to A.D. Rim Baker here for negotiating the extension with Alan Green, who they're supposed to be buddies. I think this, shows that West Virginia has just decided we're not going to sit here and call names through the media. We're going to collaborate and get over the pettiness because that's what it was starting to be with Narduzzi calling names and the whole nine. So in a time where not only rivalries in sports, but talks in general, whether it's politics or policies or diplomatic relationships, can fizzle due to logistics or egos in this day and age and social media and just the whole nine. I think this move reflects strong leadership that prioritizes traditional sports, ensuring that the 108th meeting in 2025 isn't a swan song, but the start of another heated chapter for the future of this rivalry. And it's something that I consider to be very important within that framework because this is a rivalry that's important to college football. This is a rivalry that's important to me personally, and hopefully it's important to you as well. I think this is something that needs to be done year in, year out, no matter what side of the fence you're on in the rivalry. I think both sides of us can agree that it needs to be played. End point. We go to break. On the other side, I have a question for you. Is this a top 5 rivalry game in the history of Milan Puskar Stadium? Even though we're both unranked teams, somehow it feels bigger than it is. We'll talk about that next. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Mazda, guys. We're talking about Mazda for a bunch of reasons on this one, and we can't forget that Mazda is all about moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, well, in my opinion, the Backyard Brawl just being played moves the game forward. I think, but the overall moment of Rich Rod's return is, it's just a big deal, right? It's 18 years later. It's everything we love about the rivalry, which we're about to get into. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is the beginning here, right? And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle, okay? So be going with Mazda, where you can move and be moved. And, of course, our friends over at It's 7 o'clock on the clock. I'm on my drip drop. Drip drop. That's right. We're talking about drip drop, baby. Love drip drop. Got a whole bag of it somewhere around here. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that's where drip drop comes in. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, and even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day isn't always easy. And that's why I loving Drip Drop. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes, glucose, and et cetera to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drink. I love all the flavors, but my go-to flavor is probably the cherry lime flavor. It is extremely tasty, and it's a game changer for the workout on those extra busy days, if that's what you like. I've tried a lot of electrolyte powders, guys, and nothing tastes quite as good and definitely doesn't work as fast as Drip Drop. So check out Drip Drop today, as it is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. All you have to do is head to dripdrop.com and use the promo code Locked On College. That's dripdrop.com, promo code Locked On College for $20, 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits, and it hits hard. Back here, segment 2. Let's crack a do. What do you say, guys? As we talk about something I find to be kind of important here. I think we've talked ad nauseum about it with this rivalry this week. I think it's one of those things where, write my timestamp down. I'm glad I log my timestamps now when I go to break, and I just need to make sure I'm doing that. So, when you're talking about this rivalry, it's one of those things for me, like, obviously it's the Backyard Brawl. We get up for it every single time. It was hard for me to match the energy when it came back. So far this week, it's been hard for me to match that energy, and I think you can guess why. We're not going to go into detail on that. It's a weird week, obviously, for everybody, no matter how you feel. I mean, it's a weird week. So I think that's probably hampered it some, at least from my perspective. But I think once we get into game day tomorrow, it's going to be the start of the weekend. I think things will start to ramp up emotionally for me anyways, especially when I start to think about Rich Rod returning to play this game for the first time since that game was lost. And I find myself wondering about solutions for our issues and What if Ohio beats Ohio State tomorrow? Does that mean they're just really good and Rutgers is pretty good, or did Rutgers catch Ohio in the first game and catch them off guard or something, and we got the best version of them because they had that first game against another team, or what? I don't know. I think we're going to find out tomorrow just how far off we are. If Ohio hangs with Ohio State most of the game or gets close to pulling that thing off, I think that's a good sign for us that maybe we're closer than we thought. We just played a much better team than we realized. Or they get beat 65-16, and then we realize, okay, this is where we are. And comparative games aren't always the best way to determine that. But I think you can gain something from it. You can. It's not always 100%, either way, but I just wanted to point that out. So, this game goes back to 1895, and it's just one of those games that is so personally intense for me, and I can't say that about any other game that we play. This is the one, right? If you look at the way college football is right now and the importance of winning games in this day and age, I had seen it. Somebody said that this is our Maryland type game where it's the barometer where if you win this game, you're likely to have a better season than if you lose it. But I don't even think you can place this one into the Maryland category because, it's just not the same. Also, the players that are in the game aren't as connected to it as we are, so it's a little bit weird as well from that standpoint. They'll be up for it, don't get me wrong. I think they'll be very invested. A lot of the players will be invested from West Virginia, which we have quite a few of on the team. But if you look at, obviously Rich Rod coached in this rivalry from 01 to 07. He went 16-26 in those games. And we should have went to the national championship game until what happened in 07. So that was a pretty bad day in our history. And I don't think any of us ever would have expected him to return ever. Right. So here we are in a situation where we're kind of in Pittsburgh's spot to a lesser extent, where the underdogs are trying to ruin their season a little bit. They've got a lot of pieces that they really like. They probably feel like they have a quarterback that is really good. But we have an elite defensive coordinator, and I think he's going to put our guys in the path to be successful. They're going to make mistakes, but I think they're going to be successful on defense tomorrow. I really do. This is one of those games where I just wonder about how hopefully they manage the emotions of it well. Hopefully they, how teams can be too fired up on the first play. You'll see a false start or an offsides, or a quarterback will overthrow his receiver by 30 yards or whatever. We're hoping that none of that happens, that we get some people that have ice in their veins in this game. But yeah, I'm curious. I want to ask you guys down below. Let me know in the comments. Where do you rank this game all time? Even though there's no ranking matchup here, it's not like it's some ranked team. The consequences are fairly low, in that you can still win your conference if you lose this game. Yet and still, it feels like it's so much more important for that, especially if you're a Rich Rod guy and you want him to get his get backs in this game. I mean, I know I do. I'm curious about you guys as well. But it's an important game. Overall, I would say that I'm going to be pretty amped up tomorrow. I'm going to try to keep that tone down. But it's going to be interesting to see how all these dynamics play out. The emotions of the game, it has that passed on to the players, if at all, and all that. So let's go to break, guys. We'll come back and we'll talk a little Jamoy Robinson, the latest I've heard on him, and also Reed Carrico and others. And we'll see what we got injury-wise heading into this Week 3 matchup. And, of course, this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. And of course, we talk about DoorDash for a lot of reasons, but none more than the DoorDash streaks. This week is when we look back and crown who delivered the MVP. We're going to power that by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more money every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most after all, so let's break it down, guys. For Team West Virginia, that's our guys, isn't it? The player of my choice, I think, for tomorrow especially, is going to be Jamori Robinson. I think he's going to start a streak tomorrow. I think he's going to get a couple of strip sack, or he's going to make a big impact play. And when the pressure is on, I think he's going to come through, no hesitation and no delay. And I think if you're watching him going forward, I think he's going to begin a streak of all streaks this coming game, where he's going to be almost unblockable and show this performance isn't a fluke. And hopefully he goes on his own streak. He's capable of that, especially if he gets one-on-one battles. Look out, sweetheart, then. So just like Jamori Robinson delivered for West Virginia, or will deliver for West Virginia tomorrow, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays, just like we always talk about with them. So when you talk DoorDash streaks, you can save every single Saturday that you order. And look, you can even stack up all season, and you can save up to $250, including 100 in DoorDash credits. Only this Saturday, though. You got to do it this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day with DoorDash, where the terms apply, and it's played through November the 18th. All right, we are back here at Locked On West Virginia, guys. Appreciate you for joining in on this one. This is going to be a big game tomorrow. Obviously, injuries for West Virginia. Chase Wilson, Reed Carrico, Jamori Robinson. 3 big names to have on that defense. I think if you get any combination of the 2 or the 3 back, it's going to help a lot. We've heard from multiple places now that Jamori is cleared to play. We have not heard from the school. We have not heard from Rich Rob. We've not heard from Jamori. We've not heard from the media, for the most part anyway. Somebody told me that Voice of Morgantown was posting that he'll be here. He'll be playing tomorrow. And remember, he was all over the initial story with him. So he would probably know in this situation. He just happens to know that guy. I know there's a lot of people that whenever I mention Voice of Morgantown in this chat, they get really mad and get upset and all that. And I get it. I understand why. But you can't be so mad that you can't admit the truth about something. And the truth is he's built a relationship with that guy or somebody close to him. I don't know which one. But he's been right about, and he's, not recently, but he's texted me in the past about certain situations. He's never lied to me about them, ever. I mean, I know he has a bad reputation, but, he's never lied to me about things like that. So if he's saying it, I would probably believe it. If he's saying it is happening, probably a good chance it's going to. I've also heard similar things. So I would expect Jamori Robinson to play tomorrow. I think it's going to be an enormous storyline for us. It's going to be a big boon for us. How many plays can he play in? That's another question altogether. I don't know the answer to it. Can Jamori play in 15 plays? Can he play in 20 plays? Can he play in 40? I have no clue. But I think, one way you can find out is by watching the Backyard Brawl. Hopefully he'll be involved early and often, getting sacks or pressures on Mr. Holstein, and then it'll be fun to watch from there for sure, because I think he's just that dang good, man, as a quarterback. Hopefully we keep him in the pocket. Hopefully we get some strip sacks on him tomorrow or some interceptions. He can be prone to it at times. And like I said the other day, I like West Virginia to win this game. I'm not picking us because we're a homer. I just believe. I'm going to keep believing this one last game that we can still be a decent team this year, at least bowl eligible. And I'm not going to give up on that hope for the one Ohio loss to a team that's way better than I think a lot of us realized. So let's check that out tomorrow and see how it goes, where it ends up. And we'll continue to monitor it, guys. I appreciate you so much for everything you do. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. If I could ask you for a last favor, it's to like the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and positively make sure you definitely check out the Locked On College Football Kickoff Show with Drake Toll. If you didn't know, guys, we have an important thing to tell you. Locked On and Fire T are going to be presenting every Thursday College Football Kickoff, where your ultimate college football weekly preview takes place. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson. That's right. There's also other college stars on there that you can definitely know about, named Jesse Hawley. As they've got some local experts you want to pay attention to for sure. And it's a college football preview only Locked On can do. So catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, and that's only on Fire TV. All right, guys, I should be back on here in a couple hours, depending on what happens. I'm trying to get a hold of one guy to do a game preview last minute with me so we can dive a little deeper into Pitt. If not, I'll see you tomorrow for post game after Pitt. Make sure you tune in here. I'll be getting on right as the game goes off. So as soon as it goes off, make sure you come right here for your analysis. Have a great rest of your evening, guys. I'm out of here.